check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, everyone. Alan Shields here, Chief of Police for the town of Danville, and I appreciate you putting up with a little technical difficulty there. This is a live show, so if you have questions, you can join us and ask those questions live. But we are 10-8 and in service, which means we're here to safeguard the lives, rights, and property of everyone we serve, and we do that in an effort to make people's lives better. So live show, so go ahead and answer the questions. I am monitoring both chats, so if you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can ask questions live during the show, and I'd be happy to answer what I can. And if I can't answer it live during the show, then I will I'll answer it later. So, and Roy, I appreciate you giving me the kind of the thumbs up on YouTube, letting me know that that you can hear me. All right, so we've got a little bit going on in the show here. Lots of thefts. Cross our fingers, no burglaries, and then no reported accidents, but we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that. But if you want to find ways to connect with your police department, we've got a few ways that you can do that. You can come join us at our Citizens Academy starting March 22nd. We've already been receiving quite a few applications for that. This will be the first one in our new building, so come and join us and take a deep dive into what the police department does to serve all of you and what are some of the tools and the tricks that we use. If you want to see us a little sooner than that, Monday, February 27th, we're going to be down at Starbucks on Railroad Avenue from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. To be honest with you, we're trying to hit the after-school crowd a little bit, and hopefully they'll come over. And we try to look for different times throughout the day. So you notice sometimes we'll be 9 o'clock in the morning at Pete's or maybe Christie's Donuts or the Starbucks out east. And then sometimes we'll do them in the afternoon, like when school's getting out. And sometimes we're even after like a football game over at Foster's Freeze. So we do try to vary this. The idea being we want to provide different opportunities for all of you to come and engage with all of us. If you didn't see it, we did put a press release out, but we have offered up and FEMA accepted our building next door, 510 Lagonda Way, so our Old Town offices to use as a disaster recovery center. Think of it this way. If you received a loss as a result of the floods, this is a place that you can go. It's a one-stop shop, and you can head to the town offices. They've stood up an entire FEMA disaster recovery center. And if you look at it, there's a lot of different groups that are there that can help you out. DMV, Contractors Licensing Board. You've got Cal OES that is running all this. FEMA is on site as well. Social Services. And even today, which was the opening day, there were a lot of people coming in, and we had some reporters out there covering it, helping to get the word out. And it's going to be open through March 1st. So it's going to be open for 2 weeks, starting today through March 1st. And it's going to be open from the afternoon hours all the way till 7 o'clock at night. So if you're getting off work and maybe you're a little late, it's open. It's not a 9 to 5 thing. So they will be open for all of you. We also want to encourage people to download the FEMA All, I don't know how those letters got mixed up there, but the FEMA All Hazards checklist. And there is a link in the description. And this is a good guide on how to prepare for and survive an event should it happen. All sorts of events in there. Right now we're highlighting the wildfire event. We know that, you know, right now we're not in wildfire season, but the time to prepare for wildfire season is now. This is when you want to have those go bags ready. This is when you want to prepare your house, prepare your family, and really have a plan so that if something happens, you are prepared and ready to go. You can also get information from our community warning system website. That's from the sheriff's webpage. There's a link in the description. Sign up to receive those alerts. Also download our community wildfire and preparedness and evacuation guide. This is another guide that it's focused solely on wildfires, but you can see that there's good information on what you can do to prepare your home and have a plan and just generally be ready to go. So if something happens, if you get that Nixle alert that says, hey, this wildfire is coming, evacuation warning is in place or evacuation order is in place, that will mean something specific to you because you will be prepared because you will have downloaded those and you will be ready to go. All right, I'm going to see if there's anything in the chat before we move on to the blotter. We actually have, I guess, good news and bad news, but we'll, as usual, communitycrimemap.com. And folks, I'm going to apologize. There's something wrong with these slides, and they're dropping letters, and these are standard static slides, so I'm not sure what's happening there, but it's actually .com, not .om. This is where you can receive updates anytime that you'd like. You can go to the website. We update this site multiple times a day, and you can make, you can actually zoom in to your neighborhood and then set it up so that you can receive alerts for the crimes that you want. And you can also get sexual offender registry information there as well. Let me see if I can fix these slides. So I'm going to apologize. I'm not sure why the slides are. Let's see if I can pull this one up. But let's talk about, we'll actually start moving into the final thought. I'm going to see if I can get these slides to load. I'll move into the final thought, and then we'll kind of work in reverse, and we'll work back to the crime for the week. So on the final thought, there was, well, let me see. Maybe they came up quick. Yeah, they came up a little quicker than I thought. Technology. Okay, so February, we're going to look at the traffic accidents first, and then we'll move on to crime. So communitycrimemap.com. So for the week of February 6th through the 12th, there were no reported traffic collisions. So there was none that were taken. That doesn't mean that traffic collisions didn't occur. We know that there's probably another 20 or 30% of the traffic collisions that we take that do take place. So the number of actual collisions is always slightly higher than the ones that we take reports on. We take reports for collisions where there's injuries, complaints of pain, fatal injuries. If there's a dispute over what happened, if there's a hit and run or other crime associated with it. But if it's a simple fender bender where people are exchanging information, we typically don't write the reports on those because it's not necessary because there is no dispute. But that is a good week. If we've taken no vehicle accident reports, that is a good week. And that is a kudos to all of you for doing a good job. So great job, Danville. Crime, yeah, we're not doing so good. All right, so let's take a look. February 6th through 12 on crime. The good parts is it's another week, and we go most weeks, frankly, with no violent crime reported in town. But we did have 8 thefts, no burglaries, and no vehicle thefts. But let's take a look at what we had. Put it in perspective. A lot of people think when it's theft, it's the big heist from a store, and frankly, the majority of our crime just isn't that. On the 6th, we had a theft of a reported license plate from a vehicle on Hartley Drive. That's in the downtown area. On the 7th, we had a theft of a rear bumper and a license plate from a vehicle on the 200 block of Harts Avenue, also downtown. Then we had a theft of a package on the 9th, and that was on a porch on the 600 block of El Capitan, so that's over by Osage Park. And then on the 10th, we had a theft of a catalytic converter from a vehicle parked on Harts Way, and that was over a period of time, and it was actually one of those that has it wasn't from the street, it was actually on a parking lot, so it was a vehicle that was tucked away a little bit. On the 11th, there was a theft of property from an unlocked vehicle on Mission Place. And then on the 12th, we had 3 different reported crimes. The first one was a theft of property from a vehicle on Jewel Terrace. And then we had a shoplift of property from the Smart and Final. And then we had an attempted theft of a catalytic converter on Country Hills Court. And this was interesting because we always talk about, like, what can we do for crime prevention? One of the things that we do is we try to do proactive enforcement. We have a great camera system. We've got awesome officers that work here that try to stay engaged with the community, that try to stay visible in the community and do a good job at solving crime, at catching criminals. But there's a part that the rest of us play, and this is why we say the Pelian Principle 7, the people are the police and the police are the people. We all have the same responsibility. We're just the ones you pay full time. If criminals thought there was only the police looking out for crime, they would have a field day in Danville. And what we believe and what we think they know is that it is not just the police, it is the 45,000 people that live here. And this lady just did an awesome job. So we talk about the things with crime prevention through environmental design. What can you do to better secure your home, make your home less of a target for thieves? And if it is targeted, what can we do to try to solve that crime? Well, this lady actually called as it was happening. And how did she know it was happening? Is because she had it on camera. And so she actually called us and said, hey, I think someone's trying to steal my catalytic converter off my car. We race out there with cops. They're gone by the time we get there. And there's some cut marks on her catalytic converter, but it's actually still in place and functioning. So did she do an awesome thing? Absolutely. Kudos. That is community policing at its finest. That is taking charge of your situation. So she just did a phenomenal job. Those are the reports that we love to get. We love the suspicious vehicle reports, the suspicious activity reports, anything that we can get. And so that was excellent. All right, so we're actually going to move on to our final thought. 1, 2, 3. Marty, can you hear me? Debbie says it's okay. I'm not sure what's going on with the sound. I apologize if you can't. I'll actually rewatch this one and see if there's something that we need to do. But if I get someone in the chat to just let me know that the sound is working, that way I don't have to go back and redo, that would be good. Oh, Kim, thank you. I appreciate it. You can hear. That's perfect. All right. So in the chat, if you want some engagement on this one, if you watch Nextdoor, if you post on Nextdoor, just put that you do and maybe what your opinion of Nextdoor is. What do you enjoy Nextdoor? Do you get useful information from Nextdoor? What do you see? And we had an interesting post, and the Lieutenant Jason Ingracia had told me, he's like, hey, check this post out. It's actually really cool. And there was some good information in there. There was police activity last week. Someone snapped a picture of it, and I'll show you what the post says. It says, anyone know what is going on with this person and car at Black Bear Diner in Danville this afternoon? And it was interesting because what happened after that was you started to see in the post, and you started to see like the speculation that comes out and kind of that water cooler talk of what's going on. And I snatched some of them, and it says, from the looks of it, they have a lot of items in their car. So maybe the recent residential thieves, but that's only my guess. And then the person that actually made the original post said they took him to jail, no idea why. And then another person said there is another possibility. If the driver did not have current driver's license, registration, no insurance, transporting a child, not wearing a seatbelt, DUI, or a warrant, the police would confiscate the car. We would first be allowed to remove his personal belongings until the car is towed. So you can see there's a lot of speculation in what happened. And it reminded me that this is exactly why we post our, what we call the blotter weekly, Monday afternoon. It's posted on our website, and it'll give you a list of everything that we responded to from the week prior, with a few exceptions like sexual assault cases and those sort of things. It's also why we have communitycrimeapp.com, where we actually thrust information out. You don't have to call us and wait for it. We push it out to all of you so that you can look. And it's also why we have this live broadcast where we say, hey, this is what we're doing. We want to operate in an era of transparency. We want all of you to know what's going on, and we want to act in an era of openness. It's very important that you know what it is that we're doing. I covered it last week, but that doesn't mean that I violate people's privacy. That doesn't mean that I hinder an investigation by releasing information. It just simply means that it's important for me and the people that work at the Danville Police Department that all of you know what it is we're doing. And I think to that end, the reason why is because you will know how hard the officers work here and how much time they invest to keep Danville safe and to make sure that that we're doing a good job to make sure that people know that this is not the place to do crime. All right, so there was interesting note in there, and I was pretty proud to see this. And this is the self-correcting nature of social media, and this is how we know we're doing some things right, when people will echo or cast out our message on our behalf. And someone had put on there, go to Danville Facebook Wednesday at 5 or 5:05 today because I was late. And Chief Shields might be able to advise you on the situation, or go to communitycrimeapp.com and put in the zip code. So that's great. That is a neighbor helping neighbor. That's saying, hey, if you want to know what happened, here's where you can look it up. And when it comes to anything with the police department, you can always come and ask me. You can shoot me an email, and you can kind of talk about, you can ask me. And if it's something that I can release per the government code and policy, with that, we put it out upon request. So what actually happened, right? I'm sure everybody wants to know, right? There's a car, there's cops and all this. So what happened? All right. So on the crime update. So this was Tuesday, February 7th, and it was in the Black Bear parking lot. Ultimately, we ended up arresting 2 men on a car stop. One of them provided false identification and was in violation of his probation. The second suspect was in possession of a stolen catalytic converter, burglary tools, and drug paraphernalia. Both were booked in the Martinez detention facility. And some might ask, how do we know the catalytic converter was stolen? It was cut, right? So that becomes a little obvious. But yeah, so this is your officers out there doing proactive police work, trying to find people harming people in town. And so it was a good arrest. Very good job. And the hope is, we don't know how many this person did, but the hope is that when we make that arrest, we're preventing future crimes from happening. And so that's why it's very important. We actually had a discussion in our lineup room today, and someone had asked me, if someone is a victim of crime for $100, do we investigate it the same as the person that's a victim of crime for $80,000? And the fact is, the answer is yes, because although the value may be important, what's more important is the solvability of the crime. So a catalytic converter, it may only be a $1,000 or $2,000 crime. It's not the $100,000 crime. But if we can solve it, we want to solve it because we know that can interrupt that cycle of victimization, and that can keep that down. And so that's very important to us. And so that's always what we like to do. Now, I did see one comment in here, and it was very complimentary, but I wanted to clear up one piece of information. And you have to remember one thing. All of the cops that work in Danville are sheriff's office employees. We all work for the sheriff. I'm a lieutenant with the sheriff's office assigned to the town of Danville as the chief. So we are carrying out police services on behalf of the sheriff to the community. Here's the reason that's it. Well, let me put up the post. It said, "I'm just happy we have many police officers, unlike our neighbors in Alamo." And so as complimentary as that is, it's the second part of that, unlike our neighbors in Alamo. Alamo actually has, on a per capita basis, if you look, because Alamo is, I think, 10 or 16,000 people. And then you can start roping in Diablo and Round Hill and Blackhawk. In Danville is about 44, 45,000. On a per capita basis, we're pretty even. But here's the thing that is really hard to quantify. We're all with the sheriff's office, all of us. So if there's a significant crime that happens in Alamo, we've talked about it on other shows where there were burglaries in the kind of the North Danville and Alamo area. You're not going to get this imaginary border, right? Criminals don't know that imaginary border. And the fact is, it's all deputy sheriffs up and down that corridor. So you're going to get a layered response. You're going to get a cooperative response between people that work together every single day. And it allows us to take and surge and put a lot of people on something and really get some good solves. And the fact is, if you're a frequent listener to this show, you already know this because you know that some of our best cases in Danville were solved with the quick help of detectives from the sheriff's office that are assigned to the sheriff's office. So we took our sheriff's employees that are assigned here at Danville, added some employees that are assigned up at the sheriff's office in Martinez, and we're able to quickly work and solve some cases. So it really is a cooperative effort. And we're happy that in this Tri-Valley area, we have good relationships with our outside partners, the agencies that aren't the sheriff's office, but also there are just so many deputy sheriffs in this area that when we respond, we can respond with a lot of officers and really get some good results. All right, I'm going to check and see what we have. Okay, so we've got Gary saying that he does use Nextdoor and it's a mixed bag of info. I agree. And I used to and still do promote Nextdoor because I think it is a way to communicate with a small group of people that are geographically located with one another. And there is good information in there. And Helena says that she's on Nextdoor, likes to stay in the know about things happening in the community. And that's right. It is a good way to stay in the know. And then Debbie says she's about 50-50 on the info. And I think that's the sentiment that I get from most people is they want the good, but the kind of the back and forth and the negativity gets a little frustrating. And Martha says that she's back using Nextdoor with mixed feelings, sometimes useful, but lots of speculation and frequent assumptions. So Martha, I am the same way. And so I cheat on Nextdoor. I'll be honest with you. I have one of our volunteers that watches Nextdoor, Facebook, and Instagram for me. And he will highlight things and say, "Hey, Chief, you might want to check this one out." I personally, when I use Nextdoor, I use a lot of, maybe this is reflective of the student I was in high school too, but I do the boldface thing. So I look at a lot of the titles and I sort based on that. So I try to stay out of the comments a lot because that's where it tends to go off the rails a little bit. Debbie has a very good observation here. So Debbie Olson says, also the small theft might be a lead to more. And that was exactly the point we brought in. And that's the broken windows theory. Broken windows is one of the most easily repeatable studies that any undergrad or grad student can perform. And it basically says if if you let the small crimes go, it will continue to blossom into big crimes. That's why we always say the one of the best preventions we have in town is not only our residents taking care of their homes, making sure they're well kept, bushes are trimmed, trees are trimmed, but it's our maintenance department. If you go downtown early in the morning, like when I'm riding to work and I'm going down Harts or Front, you can see our maintenance staff out there, and they are making Danville look like the finest house they possibly can. I mean, they're sweeping up the leaves. They're making sure the bricks are all laid right. They do a great job of maintaining the town. So if you're someone coming from the outside looking to be an opportunistic thief and you see the house that's well taken care of, you're a lot less likely to commit that crime. So our maintenance department, the engineers that work out the planning side, all of those folks that go into making Danville such a special place, to include everyone that lives here, it really makes it an inhospitable place for crime, right? When there's crime that's afoot, the suspicious activity is usually very easy to spot. It gets reported and we can address it. So, Debbie, that's a very good observation. That's why we do tend to focus on the small things. It doesn't mean that we push everything up to a 10, but it just certainly means that we should pay attention to those small things. All right. So Gary says, what's baffling is when the writer witnesses a possible crime and they note it on Nextdoor and not contact the authorities. I agree. And I'll share one of the silliest emails I got. I usually, and I know this is probably bad for the mental health, they'll say, but when you wake up first thing in the morning, you're not supposed to jump on your phone and check your email, right? You're supposed to let some sun hit you in the eyes or something. Well, I wake up pretty early. So the first thing I do is I check my email, and I get an email that says, Chief, can you help? I think someone might be breaking into my car. And that was at like 2 a.m. and I can't be there all the time. And so that's a tough one. And it really has to come into, frankly, if it's someone breaking in your car, that should be a report to 911. We always say when in doubt, use 911. But if it's a non-emergency, then use our non-emergency number and call us. That is the fastest way to get a police officer to your door. Shooting me an email, posting it on Nextdoor, Facebook, Twitter, all those things may be great for the communication aspect, but it's not great to get a cop out there and help. Okay, so David says, case in point, the graffiti that went up on the green fence at the open lot going into town on Diablo, quickly painted out. David, that's right. And I was going to put on this segment our Danville Connect app, because I did report to graffiti. There was some graffiti underneath the bridge on the Iron Horse Trail at 680. And there's also some, if you go on the San Ramon Creek as it goes under 680 near Diablo Road, there's graffiti along those walls. And I know if you're in that that loop just southeast of Diablo and 680, their backyards, they can see all that graffiti on the sound wall. So we do encourage people, if you report it, we've got our maintenance department that monitors those, and they'll send it to Caltrans, PG&E, the HOA, whoever that property belongs to, and request that they paint that over so that it doesn't encourage more. But that's a good point, David. All right. Well, it looks like that's all we have. We've gone through the final thought. I'm happy that all of you joined. And Roy, I appreciate you sticking with us over there on YouTube. I appreciate you doing my sound checks for me. But I do want to remind everybody, please, 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 if anything has taught us from recent years, when we get these fires and we get the floods and we've had these earthquakes, and we've seen them on other parts of the world where these earthquakes happen and they're really significant, please download this FEMA All Hazards Guide. It has information on all of those very, very infrequent events that can cause a lot of damage to property and to life. So please download those. Also, go and sign up for our community warning system. I'm going to assume that everybody has signed up for Nixle. If you haven't signed up for Nixle, there's a link in the description for that as well. And then also download that wildfire evacuation and preparedness guide with the link down in the description. If you ever have trouble with any of that, the Nixle alerts, if you want, you can always give us a call and we can have someone walk you through getting you set up so that you get the information you need. That is, in all of this emergency preparedness, knowing what's happening is probably the most important thing. If you don't know that there's an evacuation warning, an evacuation order, that's kind of a problem. And so we need to make sure that you are plugged in and ready and aware that those things are happening. All right. So that is, let me see, Sarah jumped in. Just a quick thank you. Yesterday I saw one of my cameras a police car driving up and down the street, which is so amazing to see your presence. Love our Danville PD for keeping us safe. So Sarah, we're appreciative of that. And we do try to be out in the areas where we know we need to be. That doesn't mean that we're everywhere all the time. And it's interesting, Sarah, that you say that you saw it on your cameras, because many times I'll get the comment that I never see a police officer. And I kind of do the same thing. I can look at my camera at my front door and I can see that there's more happening in front of my house than I actually realize. There's more cars that go by, certainly cop cars that go by. But if I only see what I see when I come into my house and out of my house, that's a very short period of time. And frankly, if the officer's driving around the car, you might miss that. So we do appreciate that. All right, that's all we have. So I appreciate everyone for joining us. We'll be back next Wednesday. And if you want, come join us at Coffee with the Cops next Monday and sign up for our Citizens Academy. It's a lot of fun, a lot of fun. We're 1010, but we're always 10-8 in service to all of you. Have a good night, Danville.